So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Again, today we're doing a session on exploring Edwin. This is going to cover a lot of the basics. How do you log on to the Edwin platform? What are some of the reports that are in Edwin? How do I navigate and find them? How do I run them? What are the various ways that I can sort of extract information out of Edwin? And then how I can download data, and just some of the basics around using Edwin. Much of today will be a live demo. There are a slide deck with some screenshots that are available to you. That's on our public Edwin office hours webpage. If as we're going through, you have any questions, if I show you something and you say, hey, I didn't catch that, can you do it one more time? Feel free to throw that in the chat. And yep, Niles just put that in the chat to note it. Feel free to throw questions in the chat. If you do, either send it out to everyone or you can direct message Niall if you have sort of a question that you don't necessarily want to broadcast. That's really helpful. And so with that, let us get started. So I'm going to actually do the first bullet last, and we're going to show you how to learn a little bit about what reports are in Edwin. I do want to let you know, so the Edwin user interface did change last year. So we did a bunch of trainings to sort of highlight how it was a little bit new and different. The report's functionalities changed a little bit. So last year there was a big change. So if you've not been in Edwin for 2 or 3 years and you're logging on, it might look really different. If you logged on a year ago, and this is the first time you're logging on for the school year, it might look a little different because we did do a minor update in August, and we'll probably do an annual minor update of Edwin just to keep it fresh, because the change we did last year went from sort of it being Cognos-based reporting to Power BI. So that's sort of a big difference. But we want to make sure we stay sort of up to date with the latest version of the platform we're using. And so that's why we're going to sort of do these annual updates. So there might be minor differences from year to year. One of the changes, if it's been a while, is we have the prompts at the top of the report page, and those allow you to run the reports in a lot of different ways. We have aggregate reports that can be run at the school or district level, and I'll sort of show you that, as well as student level reports, which can be run by a list of SACIDs or via prompts where you say, hey, give me all my 9th graders at one particular school. And again, I'll show you sort of those differences as well. And of course, the data can be downloaded for additional exploration, which I think is really key as someone who loves using data. Being able to extract the data and merge it with some of your other data sources can be really powerful. So I'm going to stop share for a second to go and check out that Edwin report tool or Edwin report list that we have available on our Edwin public page. So we're going to stop share, and now let me share screen. Sorry. That didn't work though, right? You are not
seeing anything.
You are not seeing anything. That's great. Okay. There we go.
Yep.
So here is the Edwin public facing page. So you don't need any login or anything to get to here. This is just on our Edwin or our DESE homepage /Edwin. And this you have links to see where you can get some additional resources. And then before I even show you the learning about reports tools, I'm gonna take a quick moment to go to the getting started page, because getting access to Edwin is actually something that's done at the local, at the sort of school and district or collaborative level. And this getting access and support guide helps walk you through the steps of how to identify who you need to go and ask and say, hey, I need an Edwin login. Or hey, I need help resetting my password, or I want access to student level data and I don't have access to student level data yet. And this security roles document can actually be helpful for that as well, to sort of spell out the different security roles and sort of what types of reports you have access to if you have the different roles. Another important thing I want to call out on this tab is this using Edwin guide. It's sort of a 7-page document that really spells out a lot of what I'm going to walk through today, that helps you sort of understand some of the navigation and how to run reports in Edwin and how to download stuff in Edwin. So that's a really handy resource to have if you run into challenges. And then here is a report list. If you sort of want a list of what are the 80 reports and dashboards that are available in Edwin, this report list can be quite helpful. I think I need to edit this. This actually, I think, was just updated this past August, but we just didn't update it here. So I will do that. And then another thing I'll note, just because somebody asked me a question about this literally yesterday, is we have this thing called Edwin Data Overview, and this helps give an estimate of when certain information becomes available in Edwin. Like, it would highlight that assessment data, tends to be loaded around now every year. So sometimes if you're curious, well, when does sort of course information get loaded into Edwin, things like that. It just helps you understand what's all the data that feeds all the reports in Edwin. And then I'll also just call out the office hours since we're here. And this is one of our Edwin office hours. These are ongoing research, webinars that we have throughout the year to help you on understanding the reports that are in it. And you can log on and just have other questions. You can log on and have questions about sort of any report that you're having. And then we post any slides or resources from prior sessions there. But what are the reports that are in Edwin? There's a lot of different topics, a lot of different reports that cover a lot of different topics in Edwin. This is a handy dandy tool that helps you explore all of them that are in there. On the left-hand side, these are sort of our report buckets, the topical buckets for them. So we have assessment reports, MCAS and Access. There are classroom level reports. There are reports that let you know more about your educators. EWIS is our early warning indicator system, and that provides a variety of information for students as they start a school year of how likely they are on or off track upcoming academic milestones. New kind of for this year, and this doesn't have it yet, is there's vocal data, which is our school climate information, not only in report form, but there's also a really exciting dashboard that allows you to explore your results. We also have a lot of information on sort of student profile and understanding your students. I'll sort of skip. You can learn about how your students, when they graduate, how they do in post-secondary and how they do in the workforce, as well as school finance. You can, for educator preparation programs, there are reports for them. And then there's also information about your students based on their early education experience. So this is sort of the wide variety of reports that are available. And you can also, if you're, in addition to sort of the other report list, there's also this report list here that's noted. I'm just gonna, hold on one minute. And so I just want to mention again, if people have a direct message, it's really helpful to send the direct messages to Niall for them to whatchamacallit, that would be most helpful to Niall to send the direct message to him. I'm sorry, I didn't quite read everything that Brittany was sending me. I think you were asking for me to give you a login to Edwin.
No, I got on, but my screen does not look like yours, and I'm trying to.
Oh no, this is not Edwin yet. We're not to Edwin yet, Brittany. You
Okay.
did great though. That's great. Now let me. So you've already logged on,
Yeah.
and now I'll help everyone else figure out that step. Brittany, that's good. So on the easiest way to log on, anywhere on the DESE webpage, in the top right-hand corner, we have this security portal button. And you tip the security portal, and then you get here. And once you get here, you enter your login credentials. Again, that's something that you get from your local folks. So for mine, it is that, and then let me see. I mistyped just there because, and then you get to your login page here. If you've logged into Edwin recently, you're going to see Edwin under your recently used applications. If you've not logged into Edwin recently, you're going to have to pop over to your application lists, and then you're going to scroll down. You might have a different set of them. These are the ones I have, and you're going to pick Edwin Analytics. Don't pick Edwin Analytics Training. I'm actually going to have to pop into Edwin Analytics Training at some point because that's a version of it that has sort of masked data. And so I'm going to want to show something that's a student level report. So I want to make sure to protect student privacy. So I'll go into Edwin Training for that. But for you all, you're going to want to hit Edwin Analytics. And then you get to this is the Edwin homepage. So Brittany, hopefully this is what you logged into and you got to see this. It really mirrors the thing that the tool that I was just on, where it has the reports that are bucketed together in these folders. If, however, you didn't like this folder view, you can go up to this corner and you can change it from tiles to list. I was initially anti-tiles. I've come around to it. So I'm now a tile girl. So here again, we have assessments, and within assessments, there are then some subfolders. We have access and MCAS. Within MCAS, there are then even more subfolders. I've gotten here, if I want to go back, there's a couple of different ways I can do it. I can either use this top button and click to go back. That works. Or I can use sort of this breadcrumb sort of navigation trail here, where if I'm in here and, oh, I now want to go back to assessments, I can do that. Oh, I want to go back to Edwin Analytics, I can do that. So that's sort of one way to sort of navigate around and see what's available. Now, it could be to get to a report that you want, like if you know there's an MCAS report you are really interested in, you can navigate through the folders to get there. Like, let's say there's an item analysis I'm really interested in, I could do that. I also, if I knew the name of it, I could put in, an item analysis. Like, let's just say I knew it, or let's go back to home, Edwin Analytics. And if I just do item, I then get reports that have item analysis in it. It could be things like, oh, do you know what? I remember there was a great report that had a scatter plot graph in it. I'm able to find it that way. And then let's say, oh, I don't want to have to even deal with the searching. Once you found a report you really like, you can just add it to your favorites. And by doing that, you sort of see, you hover over and you add to favorites, or under the more info, you also can, if I've removed it from favorites, if I hover over more info, I can add it to favorites that way. Then if I'm at sort of this home screen, I go to favorites, there now are all my favorite reports. So I don't have to do sort of any of that navigation. So that's sort of a couple of different ways to sort of find or group reports that you use often again, so that you don't have to be overwhelmed by that home screen. Tammy's liking the improved navigation. Glad to hear it, Tammy. So one report I'll start. So let's say, you know what I want to do? I think, one moment, I'm going to pop over into the training environment. Sorry for the in and outs, but just want to be, now that I'm going to be running reports, we'll go into the training environment. So actually, let me hold on one. I'm actually going to go back to the, I'll go back to this for one more moment. Oh, I'm in training. Never mind. We'll stay with this then. So I'll start with this IT 301. This is an aggregate report, item analysis report in an MCAS. And one thing to note, again, if you haven't been in Edwin for a while, the old version of Edwin, you would have a whole page of prompts that you would have to fill out. Here, all the prompts are at the top. And for most reports, a handful of student level reports are different, but for most reports, it will default to likely your district, school, or collaborative, sort of at the top and sort of the most recent year and all students available, things like that. It will have a set of defaults so that when you open the report, it will open to data. However, it's really important to read all the prompts at the top to sort of understand what is in this report and what are some of the various ways that you could run it. Like for here's this is a report view is district. Whatever that first prompt is will be different on some of the different reports, but this is where it allows you to change it from being a district view report to a school view. Some of the other reports operate differently where you can just run it for all the schools in your district or for a particular school in the district, and that's how you have the district first school view. So that can be sometimes different. Another thing I'll point out is we sort of have all these prompts. All the prompts on this page are single select prompts. So I sort of make a choice and that's it.
Unless I'm doing it wrong.
And I know it's a single select prompt because the little caret is on the inside of the box. If it was on the outside of the box, it would be a multi-select prompt. And here is, as you see, we sort of have this is average district. So this is masked information. And then the school is not applicable because I'm in a district view of the report and it's for grade 9. On other reports, let's say this prompt section is a lot. This is not too many prompts, but some have more prompts. If it's taking up too much room, there's this button in the middle, hide parameters. And I can click that. And I then sort of have hidden all the prompts. And if I want it back, I hit the button again. I hit the button again and it comes back.
Which button?
It's this little arrow button right in the middle of your screen. It's show parameters. It's kind of small, but it's in between all the prompts at the top and then this really helpful bar that I'm going to walk through in just a moment. The sort of ribbon in the middle, but it's hide parameters because that can be helpful because then you can devote more of the screen to the actual body of the report. And as I noted, this is a really helpful ribbon in the middle. One is I now know that this is a multi-view report. And actually, let me go up here. This is sort of saying all students. Let's say I change it to gender. Once I've changed something in the top prompt section, what's really important is I hit view report for the report to run. So I've now hit view report. Now I see it's 3 pages. This is the first page where I'm going to have female students. If I want to go to the next page, now I have a table with male students. And then you go, there's a third page. What's the third page? Frequently the last page are footnotes or like extra information. Maybe it's a list of all the prompts. So if you were to export this to PDF or Excel or something, you would have sort of all the information there. So that's typically the last page of a lot of the multi-page reports. Other times you might just need to scroll down, right? Like see here, we have the ability to scroll as well. So multi-page report, this is refresh doesn't so much affect a lot of our reports. If some of the font is too small, you can make it bigger or smaller if it's too big. And then this is the power one, I think. This is our export drop-down menu. And this is where you can download the report into either Excel, PDF, or CSV. And there are some reports that are much better to download in CSV or Excel. Frequently, it sort of says that if you download the other one, it says, hey, this report is only available in the other one. It might say it on the report itself in the HTML version as well. But this lets you sort of download into these different structures. So if you had this and wanted to merge in additional data or play around with it in a different way, you can do that by downloading. And then of course we have the print function. And then this is our search function. And this is really helpful if you're having a student level report and you're wanting to find a particular student, type in some part of their name and search for it, and it will search all the pages of the report to find that kid. This report is also interesting because it has some additional functionality in here that lets you do sorting. That's what these arrows mean. Other reports sometimes have little information eyes, where if you hover over that, you'll get some extra information as well. And then another thing to look for in reports is our hyperlinks that allow that sort of allow report interoperability, or this isn't necessarily going to another report. This is going to give me information about this particular item number. So if I click on that hyperlink, it takes me to the item. So I'm sorry, now I need to somehow get back to where I was, right over here. So should I pause for a second for questions? Why don't I do that?
Sure. Kate, can you address the student assessment history report if you're not going to, if you are going to do that? A couple people have been asking about.
Oh, the student assessment history? Sure.
Yeah,
so the next report
to work. So I don't know if that's coming up. So
I'm sorry, the student assessment history or request has come for that. And what's the other thing?
No, I was just continuing that question. And the other question is about people who do not see Edwin Analytics on their security portal.
In their security portal. So that may be that you do not have access to Edwin Analytics yet. Or there's actually two things that might be going on there. Either one, you don't have access yet, in which case, if we go back to here, let's just do if you go back to this getting started guide helps walk you through the steps to identify the person that you need to contact locally to say, give me access to Edwin Analytics. The other thing could be is a lot of educators actually have two logins to the security portal. You have one that is yours that like lets you get access to, I think, ELAR and things like that. And so that login travels with you if you were to change schools and districts. And then there's another, like for access to Edwin, you need to have a login that's tied to just you, or I'm sorry, that is tied to like you being in that school or district. Like that's the school or district giving access for you to have information about kids at Malden High School. So if you were to leave Malden High School, you no longer have that login, but you keep your other login. So it could be that you're using the wrong login. That can be confusing, but sometimes the case. Or you just don't have access yet to go through those steps to contact your local person to say, hey, I need access to Edwin. So that's sort of those two things. Thank you, Niall, for showing. So, do you know what, before jumping into, or actually, I'll do what time do we got? Yeah, got not tons of time, but we got time. Let's do, here's the deal. I was just thinking, which folder is it in? I use the search function and hit history, and then we're able to bring it up. So I'm in the train, do you know what? This one might be weird in the training environment. I'll say that now. Because sometimes in masking data, it can get a little weird. So this is a great example, though, of where it can be really helpful to read the prompts at the top. Because this first one, students from, is on a couple of different reports, and especially sort of with assessment, they have that as well, where sometimes for assessment, you might want to know like your MCAS students, like who are the kids who took your MCAS last year. But a lot of times, like for this, you want your claimed kids, whether they took the assessment with you last spring or not, you want to know for all your kids today, what's their history, their assessment history. So for this, we sort of have claimed kids. Then there are other things, if you wanted to know kids who were previously enrolled in different sim cycle, you can touch that there. So this is claimed kids. This is a report that you have the option of searching by SACID or not, but searching by SACID. Searching by SACID means, hey, I'm going to change this to yes. And then I don't really have to deal with any of the other prompts except for this enter SACIDs box. And from there, I can either type in SACIDs, or if I had another sheet of, if I had like a spreadsheet of SACIDs, I could put that in there and whatchamacallit, it would run for that. So those are some of the ways to do it. And the advantage of doing it by SACIDs is, I'm sorry, for here, you see that this is, I remember I said if the little arrow is inside, it's a single select. So this allows you to sort of run this for single schools. And let's say you had kids across a bunch of different schools that you wanted to run. By just using SACID, you could do that rather than having to run it for each individual school. This one does let you run it for multiple grades, but there are some reports that only let you run it for one grade at a time as well. So let's say you wanted to run it for kids in 9th through 12th grade, running it by SACIDs is easier than running it by the individual grades. But let me switch back to not being by SACID. And I'm in the training environment, and claiming, I'm not going to go quite down the rabbit hole of claiming, but claiming doesn't quite work as well with the training environment. So I'm going to go to Sims. Oopsies. Hold on one second. We're going to try this one more time. Okay, so these are some SACIDs that should be in training. So now we're doing search by SACID. And so when search by SACID, you see, I don't know if you were able to see when I jumped over to the Excel, I just copied and pasted a couple of SACIDs. I then went into this box and I pasted them. You also can have them all in a row with a comma separating them. I think it's good practice to delete. Oh, it didn't let me to delete the text at the end, but you don't have to, but you do want to make sure it's on a different row. And then I hit view report. And hopefully someone will come up on this. If not, we might have to pause on digging into this one, but I was planning to show the student profile report, which does include the historical MCAS testing in there as well.
So can you just repeat how to do the multiple SACIDs again, please?
Sure. So all I did is I went over and you're seeing an Excel spreadsheet or no? No. So here,
We just see the training page. So you went, it doesn't matter particularly. So you went from an Excel spreadsheet, you copied the SACID, and then you went back to Edwin.
Yeah. So we'll just say share screen. Okay. So I just have some SACIDs, and these are SACIDs I had pulled from the training environment before, so I know they're in there. And so I just highlight, and I just highlighted some of them, but you can highlight however many. And then why is it? And then I'm in the report and I've made sure SACIDs, I'm searching by SACIDs, that's set to yes. And then let's say these are different. I just highlight, I just go into the box and then I'm just doing, Control V, pasting the list of SACIDs in there. Because I copied it from Excel, they're all appearing on a separate line, so they're able to run. But as I said, if you had them comma separated, that's worked fine for me. Those are the only two ways I've tried it. I don't sort of have a list, and I've manually typed them in either, multiple times, and that works as well. And then you just hit view report once you've done that. And then you do want to make sure it's the right, like I have students from just based on Sims because that's what I need to do for training. But if you want it for claimed, it can work fine for claimed. So then
if you
this,
had, sorry,
yeah.
so if you
Go-
have all these SACIDs, what does it look like and how do you see them?
So I've now run the report for all the SACIDs, right? So this is now the report. And this report is one where it's sort of, at least on the HTML version, it pops up where it's like a student on a page. And I love, because we then have this document map. This is sort of another thing. So now here is my list of all the students that I ran. So if I go, oh, do you know what? I'm really interested in Penny Phillips. I go there and I'm now on Penny Phillips things. Do you know what? As I mentioned before, these prompts, they're taking up so much space. I don't need them anymore. I'm just gonna hit this little button, hides the prompts. I then get more of the view. And so we then have the history of their attendance or history of their assessment, and including information on how they're doing for the CD. Again, this isn't training, so it's not quite as up to date as what is live right now, but I definitely think in all of these reports, it is always helpful to go to the footnotes, especially when it's around like, well, what the CD status as of what? Like we have the two little asterisks there to try to say, hey, look in the footnotes, there's going to be more information there about that. So you have that information there. Again, of course, if I said, oh, I don't want this person, I want Jim, I can use the search function and that'll get me there too. But there's multiple ways to sort of skin this cat. You have the document map, you have the search function, you have page through, all of those types of things. So that is this report. I'm not sure if there are specific questions about the assessment history. Are there particular questions, Niall, that came in about the assessment history, or just they wanted to know how to run it?
I think also if it was operational.
It is operational.
I was having problems running it, so I would ask the same question.
Oh, are you? Okay.
But I'm not an expert. This is not one of the reports I'm usually in. And it could have been.
I will say now, I mean, a great example. I was in this report yesterday when we were trying to help Josh and Rachel answer that question. Yeah. So it was working yesterday. I have not used it today.
No, so I know how to use it because I found kids yesterday, but I'm having issues with it today. So performance issues.
If it's a performance issue, I don't know if my colleague Melinda is on the line and can chat to it, because I'm not going to say fill out a I'm gonna wait. I thank you all for flagging it. I'll play around with a little bit, and if need be, okay. So if it's one of those things where you know you've used this report before and it's worked and you're having issues, a great thing to do is to let us know that there's an issue with it. And how you do that is this contact us button. You sort of click on the contact us button and it's going to help you fill out a little ticket where you get to say what the problem is. I'm going to ask you not to do that in this scenario because we don't need 200 tickets letting us know about this problem. Niall and I will fly this up the flagpole and try to get this addressed. I'm sorry about that. I just haven't played around with this report yet. The other report I was going to show, and I think I saw someone shout out a little love for the student profile in the chat. And this is the student profile report, and it is just one of the best reports I think we have in terms of it's just so helpful as you have kids come into your school to understand what's their history in mass public education. This is sort of their educational suitcase that like follows them around. And so, again, this is, we have a students from prompt at the top, and you can choose claimed students, pre-claimed students, Sims. Because I'm in training, I have to do Sims, but typically I think most people run this for their claimed students at the start of the year. Most people we see who use this report do use it with search by SACID. So we've sort of defaulted to say, hey, we're going to do the search by SACID. But of course you can say, no, I don't want to search by SACID. I want to run it, you know, for a school or district or grade. But again, and this is one where, see, there's so many prompts based on the size of my screen. I actually need to scroll down to see the last prompt. But this is one where it is a single select district, school, grade. So you could only run this for sort of like 8th graders in a particular school or 9th graders in a particular school. You couldn't run it for your 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. But super helpful. I'm gonna do, we have, luckily I have some SACID saved, so I will do that and then hit view report. Again, like if you do that, you then can include additional prompts and just run it for certain types of people. However, if you are doing claimed students, one thing to note is we have this unknown, because that's sometimes we don't have information about this. If someone has just been claimed, we might not have information about their gender or their race yet from a SIMS collection. So therefore, you might want to also include the unknowns if you're using the prompts with claimed students. So I'll say that as a mention. Where didn't, yeah, so there we have it. Again, I'm going to hide the parameters so I get a little more view. This is another report that has the document map that lets me navigate across students. And this report has a bunch of different sections. The first one is just information from the 3 most recent SIM cycle. So you let them see that, you know, if they are enrolled or transferred and what sort of school they're at. Again, this is masked, so it's a little bit weird. But then we have the history of their school attendance. So for this, we have their overall information for each school year that they've attended, including attendance, suspensions, their Title I or low income status, LEP, L program, and if they're a student with disability. And something that can be really interesting is if a student has repeated a grade, that can jump out at you because you'll see sort of multiple, maybe 9th grades across multiple years. Another thing, if you see kids who've attended many schools within a single school year, you'll see sort of multiple records for individual years. That tells you, wow, they've bounced around a lot. It can also jump out where you have kids who haven't been in a mass public for a couple of years. There's a gap in their educational history. So that's another thing that I sort of love to dig into this section. We then have all of their course information. And something that sometimes happens is you see, oh gosh, there's a lot of withdrawn classes. And sometimes kids will have so many withdrawn classes because let's say they move schools within multiple school years. So they have all withdrawns from one school and grades from the other. We did add a prompt at the top that lets you run the report with just completed courses, right? Sometimes it's helpful to see all those withdrawns to understand what's been going on with the student. And then other times you go, gosh, those withdrawns are just taking up too much space. So you have that prompt option at the top. And then this, again, at the bottom, we get into the assessment information. So this has all their assessment information. This student clearly doesn't have a science assessment, or else there'd be a science assessment section, but they were an access student. So we get their access for L's, or they were an English learner student, so we got their access for L's information at the bottom. So this has all this information. If you downloaded this into PDF, you sort of get it like this, where it's student after student after student. If you download this into Excel, it sort of gives you all the information for all the kids for their most recent SIMs. That's all in like one large sort of tabular table on one tab. And then the history of school attendance for all the students that you run are in a table on like the history of school attendance tab. And so it's like, it's broken up by tabs, but then all the kids' information for each section is on each tab. And it's kind of helpful for both. I know there's some students or some places where they go, I run this for all my incoming 9th graders. And then I look at the access for L section. And so I know not only my students who are Ls and FELs, because FELs, has a time limit. I know all my students who have sort of ever been Ls and sort of when they likely exited L status and whatnot based on sort of that table. So that's a powerful tool. So I will pause because I do feel like questions have come in. Want to make sure I'm answering them. Brittany apparently has a request. So it's not just the ones. So you can pre-claim, Brittany, but you only have access to students' records once they're your kids. It's a FERPA, right? Like, you don't have access to everyone's student level records in the state. You unfortunately, for school and district, you only have access to
I know, but
your
I
kids.
don't see any kids at all, or any way to look up kids or SASs. So I just emailed our IT person, like maybe my permissions aren't set up correctly, because my screen, like when you go back to like the home page to get to the screen that you're on, like I can't even get there. Like I don't see any of those tabs that you have for like race and ethnicity and all that. Like go back maybe more.
So if I'm open the
I don't even have student profile report. Like go
so
back.
then you probably don't have access to student level data. That is probably, that's an access issue.
Yeah.
That's a great, I'm sorry for not highlighting that more. If you were in, what's a good one?
Yep, like once you go into those, like I only see like 3 or 4 options.
Yeah, so if you are in, I'll do EOS just because I sort of know that. If you have sort of 301, 320, if you just have sort of 301 and 320 in this EOS folder, you only have access to you only have access to aggregate level reports. And another,
can I tell you what I see?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see EWIS, district view, student list, subgroup analysis, attendance and suspension monitoring,
really, you see all
and
of
risk
them.
indicator.
And if you open the EW 601, something pops up. Sorry, I do love real world problems to solve.
Okay, so now it's opening up and I don't see a SASID spot. Should I? I see like district, schools, current grade, outcomes, race, ethnicity.
Yeah, and then, but is there any student information?
Yeah, I see, like if I scroll down, I can see a list with like a bunch of kids' names and stuff,
Yeah.
but there's no spot for me to search, like if I want to look up a certain kid.
So for that report, it's not search by SASID. That report, you might have to use the search box and enter the student's name or the SASID. You can enter the SASID in that search box and find the kid.
Where's the search box? Like the one at the top?
So the search box, I'm talking about, am I in training? I'm in training. Oopsies, training. Here, I don't know what'll happen in this one. I'm meaning this box right here.
Got it. Okay.
That little search box. I'm sorry, you're right. Because there's this search box up here. The search box in the middle ribbon.
Okay.
If you use that search box, you can find individual kids. But I am a little confused. You don't see because normally if you have access to this report, you would also have access to the student profile report. But if within the student profile report, you are not able to find your kids, that could be a claiming issue.
So go back, can you show me how you get back to that student profile report then?
Sure. Well, one way to do it is up in this top one. Oh, I hate when my computer does this. So we're just gonna go over here. So one thing to do is in this one, you can just type in profile and you do that. Or if within your Edwin Analytics homepage, the student profile is in the student enrollment and indicators, student profile.
Okay, yeah.
So if you see the student profile report is there.
Yes,
right?
I got it now.
Okay. And then you, oopsie, okay, I can click on this because this one's not gonna come up. So this is the live version. And again, yeah, so this one you have the students from, search by SACID, under SACID. I'll say, I think a couple of districts have not been claimed, like their claim numbers are low right now. And I don't know if that has to do with something local with their the student information system is maybe not online at the moment. I don't quite know or whatnot, but if you're in here and you go, instead of doing search by SACID, you search by prompts and you search for sort of ninth graders at a school that you know has a ton of ninth graders and you're not getting any kids, that might be due to claiming, not necessarily sort of the report functionality. Sorry to go down that rabbit hole a little bit.
So how do I fix that? I don't.
For claiming, you talk to someone. So to the similar place, it might be the same person who you would talk to for your Edwin access, but it's likely the SIMS contact at the local level. It's someone in your school or district to be like, hey, I'm having trouble getting information out of Edwin. Is student claiming possibly a problem? Like, have we claimed our kids for this year?
Okay.
So that is something.
Hey, Kate, a common question in my direct messages here has to do with the state scores being in the MCAS reports. And also just an aside, we should probably have the MCAS people do an Edwin session.
Oh, no, so that is great. And I'd really hoped to have the date firmed up. We do hope to have one that definitely came up. We did one of these sessions in August, and that was a really heavy request. And so I am talking with student assessment. I had hoped to have sort of an October date that I could promote on today's call. I don't yet. I know that there's a real hunger for that, where it's really not only, hey, here are the reports, but how you might download them and how you might use them. As I know the question. And the state numbers in MCAS, so they're not populated right now. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they're not.
I think a new MCAS file, I think the final MCAS file is coming next week. So my hunch is it would be in maybe at the end of next week. And again, Melinda can, if Melinda's on, she can correct me. She can unmute and correct me. So being a collaborative program, well, I'd be able to find students who attend our programs. So collaboratives just have a couple of reports that are available to them. You can run your PR 600, and then I think there are three others. Or two others, but I'm blanking on them at the moment. I think one of the item analysis ones, and there's another one or two. But we do, so there are a handful of reports that you have access to for you to get information about your students. Is there a report that breaks down how students did on the individual categories? So yeah, I was about to say that there is a report that for the individual students, yes, that's so. Oh, do you know what? That actually, Dean, chances are, yes. Yes, there is a report for that. And I think if you went to the Exploring Edwin tool and the report list and sort of read them, you'd identify them. I don't know if there's anyone on here who knows that. I think it's, I don't know if it's the student roster or the assessment detail. I think it is one of those that has the information you're looking for. I'll do that. Now I'm only sort of able to take in the last one or two things that have come up. I don't know if there are some larger ones that I should address in sort of the 8 minutes we have left.
There's some pretty detailed MCAS questions, and I'm not sure if you covered them all.
I might not have, but if we have those, what I can try to do is maybe get some answers for them, and I'll include them in an email to everyone on the call. Does that maybe sound like the most logical next step for that?
Yeah, we can go through the chat and make sure we cover it.
Yeah, we'll download the chat and pull any of sort of those real specific MCAS ones, because the problem with some of those questions are, it's like, in order to answer them, I not only need to read the question, I need to maybe look at a student report to figure out the best way to answer that. And we don't want me to quite flail around with that. I'll do one thing.
Can I just ask, because Tammy LaFleur, and now I can't see it, she asked a question a while ago, about the report for middle school teachers class when students are from 5 different elementary schools. I'm a supervisory union, so I'm a different situation, but we're a high school that has middle schools. I'm assuming we can see their historical data because we've claimed them.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe, I don't know if her question's different.
Yeah,
but-
once you've claimed, so like for the most part, like post-secondary information is a little bit weird, but it's like pretty much if you've claimed the kid, you then have sort of anything that's in that PR 600 report, right? Like, you know, all of that type of information you can run for that kid. You can get historical information for that student once they are yours. Once they leave you, you only have access to their information up till the time they were with you. So that should be, so it's like, if you're at, what she might be saying is there are some of those reports, especially like aggregate reports, that you might have to run multiple times. If they only can run for one school at a time, you might have to run them multiple times for each of the schools or things like that. That definitely can happen when you sort of are cross things, so that, you know, you can either run it for all the schools selected, or you have to run it for each individual one. So that might be the challenge, but I can look into a little bit more. And Lincoln, we will share out a video of this recording. Tammy, I'll answer a little bit more. I'll figure out a little bit more for you in a moment. What else? Again, we already talked a little bit about the contact us button. That's for if you have problems. I'll look into the assessment history. We don't need 150 tickets. They might already have a couple tickets for that. And then the only thing I will say, another great thing, providing feedback, not only does it help us identify issues and fix them, it helps us get ideas for changes and new ideas for reports. So that's really helpful. We're not super quick at always developing these new reports, but it's really helpful for us to know what is useful for you in the field for us to respond to. And then I also just really want to highlight the variety of resources we have available for you in sort of understanding what's in Edwin and how to navigate it. And we do have ongoing webinars throughout the year. If I am able to figure out if I am able to lock down an assessment webinar, maybe I'll hold off to send out the recording and whatnot till tomorrow, in hopes that I have the date for the assessment webinar by then. I don't know if that's too optimistic, but that is my goal. But we will have Edwin office hours throughout the year. And again, they're normally like an MCAS one might be, we're really focused on the MCAS one for the full hour. A lot of other times it might be a half an hour where we're highlighting a new report or tool. But there's tons of time for questions, not only on that report or that topic area, but folks can join in and say, hey, I have a real, I want to walk through this report with someone. You and I hop into, a breakout room and figure out what's going on. So we do try to provide that level of ongoing support throughout the year. I know we are hitting time, and we are essentially to the end of my stuff. So I do want to thank you all. If you're going, I'll try to sort of scroll through question for reply later.
Hello.
Okay. Jennifer, I will think about that. I'm not sure. I think that is what I think there might be a classroom report that can help do that, but I don't know the timing of when that's able to be populated. So thank you, Jennifer, for that question for reply later. I look forward to replying to it. And Christine, thank you for that example. I'll figure this out. Yeah. Sorry that some of this TA is going to occur after the fact, but in a weird way, there's also, I didn't highlight our frequently asked questions. Depending on how frequent these questions seem to be asked. Thank you for providing new questions that we can bulk up that section and that resource that's available as well. Gentlemen, I'm going to stop recording so we don't need to continue to hear me babbling. But again, thank you all so much for coming today.